Hey guys, I'm here. Welcome back. We are finally going to be checking out the final episode of Chernobyl as we conclude our journey to familiarize ourselves with Craig Mazin's previous work before we check out his adaptation of the wildly popular video game, which I love to death myself. I've completed both of them multiple times, and I'm really looking to see what he brings to the table with this, especially after watching this series. So if you want to see my reactions to those, make sure to stick around, subscribe, because I really can't wait to see what he brings to the table for that world, considering how well he has executed this series and how much it just kind of lingers and sticks with you. I feel like a lot of these things, while moving from nonfiction to fiction, I feel like there's a lot of ways that this can translate into the story that he's going to be telling with that. And I'm really excited for a lot of people who have never played the games to finally figure out and experience this story. Much like for me, learning about this event, this disaster, it's been eye-opening. It's been heart-wrenching. It's been, honestly, at times soul-crushing and at others inspiring. This series is just brilliantly done. And while it does take its liberties with some of the events and all that for the kind of narrative of the structure, I think at its core, it really does a good job at kind of being this beautiful, tragic, cautionary tale. And again, I'm recording this now. By the time I'm recording this right now, only the first 2 episodes have posted for you guys. So any comments that come out after that, I'll be actively engaging with you. So unfortunately, I won't be able to inform my reaction outside of what I've read on those first 2 videos. But I do want to thank you all so much for the engagement, for the reception, and for sharing your own stories and your experiences with this. I just got to keep reiterating, like, I'm still, wrestling with the fact that there's people in the audience that lived through this, whether it be in and around the area itself or within its reach, which was sweeping as it toured the globe in a lot of ways. But it's just really humbling. It's really, I don't know. It just touches me in a way that just my heart goes out to you guys, and I thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the knowledge you guys have shared and the facts and some of the ways that this, it's taken its liberties, like I've said, with the narrative adaptation of this event to make it flow in this miniseries type thing. Because obviously you can't condense, you can't tell this story in the detail it needs to cover the entire expanse of it. So I think they did a pretty solid job at condensing and truncating it into a way where, again, I don't think a lot is lost, but that's just from my perspective. But you guys have shared a lot of amazing little comments, and I will continue to read each and every one of those. So again, thank you guys. So before we jump into this, make sure if you want to see the full-length reaction, you check those out over on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, it gets you access as well. They are on watch-along format, so you will need your own footage to sync up with the time codes and reaction to the entire episode. You also get the same thing for all the other shows and movies that we cover here on the channel. You get to suggest and vote on movies or react to each month. We got monthly Q&As, behind-the-scenes footage, and try to make it worth your while since you are going to way support the channel. But with that all said and down the way, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. And remember, if you like this video, if you like the reaction, please leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're not already. That all said and out of the way, guys. Let's go ahead and hop into episode 5, Vichnaya Pamyat. I probably butchered that, so I apologize. Here we go. Oh, it's just as if it didn't happen. Oh, this is before. Oh, I don't know what's worse, if I thought that was a dream or if this is just a preamble. 12 hours before the explosion.
At last, a Soviet scientist who tells the truth. Obviously, I resent the insinuation, but I think it's fair to say you made an excellent impression at the conference. Turns out you're quite good at this.
Oh.
The West
He
is
still
now
lied.
satisfied that Chernobyl was solely the result of operator error, which it essentially was. We have you to thank for that, and we intend to.
Sided with Boris.
Promotion to director of the Kurchatov Institute. I'm humble.
Wow. Oh, he's starting to lose hair. The ticking clock in the background, time's running out. Counting down to where we open. The same ticking. First scene, first episode. And again, more lies. What are the cost of these lies?
And when your testimony arrives at the moment of the explosion, that is when our jury will finally hear the truth.
And do what with it?
Insist on reform. Not just to the RBMK, but the entire industry.
No.
They can't function without us. If we...
Do you know what happened to Volkov?
That won't work.
I went willingly to an open reactor. So I've already given my life. Isn't that enough?
No, I'm sorry, but it is not.
What are we doing back here?
The Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union.
Are they holding it here?
The session of court is now open. Comrade Judge Milan Kadnikov presiding. Indictments: Viktor Brukhanov, Anatoly Dyatlov, Nikolai Pamyat.
Oh, all three of them. Model of the reactor.
This document was a lie. In order to sign this certificate, all safety tests had to have been successfully completed. One remained. Generates heat in the core here. A series of pumps here and here, so that a constant...
He's learned a
flow-
lot about this thing in the past few months. Almost a year by this point.
Any questions? The second time they tried, they failed. The third time they tried, they failed. The fourth time they tried was April 26, 1986.
Officials in Kiev say that they cannot afford a further reduction in electricity until after midnight. They are asking for a 10-hour delay. Competent management would have insisted on cancelling the test. These three men allowed it to proceed.
Out of greed, it seems.
It created two problems. One of them is scientific in nature, and the other is very human.
You know the test they're supposed to run. They couldn't do it on the day shift, so they've given it to us.
To us? We don't know what... We don't know what it is.
It's fine. We take it down to 700, hold it there. The rest...
Are we supposed to do those or not?
Great. Unclear instructions and an unexperienced crew.
Right. Thank you. He says to follow the cross-down instructions.
So then why are they crossed out?
Oh my god. That...
I haven't reviewed. We only just found out we're there. Review it. Or you can just do what I tell you. I think even you, stupid as you are, can manage that. Well, let's go.
Oh my god.
Topped and off. Reduce power to 700.
I've never done this with the power so low before. It's okay, I'm with you.
Oh, and it was these two that had to go down into the water to turn the cranks to... Oh... Ooh, that camera wobble made it feel like we were on a boat. It was kind of, it was throwing me off.
But if you don't balance the reactivity, it never stops rising. Boron control rods. They reduce reactivity, but there's a third...
Good job, Mike Guy.
When the core is running at full power, it burns the xenon away before it can cause a problem. Chernobyl Reactor 4 has been held at half power. The xenon did not burn away.
Kirschenbaum, come get me when these old women are ready. Yes, Comrade Dyatlov.
My god, dude. He's the one that went back down there and was like, he said it's impossible. He's this little brown noser over there.
Slow. I didn't move any rods there.
Oh no.
Switch off local automatic control. Go to global.
LAC disabled, global control activated.
Oh. Oh.
We fell from 50% of power. The rules don't say 50. There is no rule.
Comrade Dyatlov, I apologize, but what you're saying makes no sense.
The two of you disagree, then you don't have to work here, and you won't. But not just here, you won't work at Kursk, or Ignalina, or Leningrad, or Novovoronezh, you won't work.
Wow. That goes back to his line, too, and he was like, hey, I can talk you up, or I can ruin you. Whatever he said before. Oh! He's trying to cover himself, too. He's doing, you piece of Oh, here we are. So, cause like, remember he had that conversation with him when he was like,
But if I didn't do what he said, I would be fired. One day before he died. No, Comrade Dyatlov, you were in the room. You ordered them to raise the power. This is a fact.
Like when he said, like, when I talked to the board or whatever he said, it was like, I might not be able to make this better for you, but I can certainly make it worse or whatever he said. Man, it's eating him up.
No one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. And here we are. They said it wasn't serious. I believed them. You know why? Because they put you in charge.
There are other scientists like me. Any one of them could have done what I did. With you, everything we asked for, everything we needed.
Lunar rovers. Who else could have done these things? They heard me, but they listened. Of all the ministers and all the deputies, the entire congregation of obedient fools, they mistakenly sent the one good man. For God's sakes, Boris.
Toptonov sees a report from the reactor's Scala computer system. The computer is recommending that the reactor be shut down.
Well, of course it's saying that. It doesn't know we're running a test. All right, comrades. Another few minutes.
God, man.
Kirschenbaum, when you're ready.
We did everything right.
Oscillograph on.
We did everything right.
Balance immediately swings in the opposite direction. In less than a second, reactivity increases.
Oh.
Raining water is quickly converting to steam. A void is being created.
Nothing to fill it.
Power is rising. There's nothing left to stop it. 1:23 and 35 seconds.
Wow, man. It's like a Mentos and a Diet Coke.
Sasha.
Wow. What you said.
Every control room of every nuclear reactor in the world, there is a button with one single purpose. You press AZ5, all of the control rods insert at once, and the reaction is stopped. But
Is he gonna? He lives past this trial, so I don't think he's.
Legasov's already given it away. He said before, there was no way to avoid what was coming. He knows something. Comrade Dyatlov. She knows something.
I haven't finished. I still have more evidence to give.
It's not necessary. Your testimony is concluded.
Oh, he was about to.
Let him finish.
Oh, isn't that Roose Bolton? I was like, why? Where am I placing his face? I've seen him before. Where is it?
The tips are made of graphite, which accelerates reactivity.
Why?
For
the same reason our reactors do not have containment buildings around them like those in the West. For the same reason we don't use properly enriched fuel in our cores. For the same reason we are the only nation that builds water-cooled, graphite-moderated reactors with a positive void coefficient. It's cheaper. Chernobyl Reactor 4 is now a nuclear bomb. 12342 sees the impossible. The control rod and fuel channel caps, which each weigh 350 kilograms, are jumping up and down.
Oh my God.
Explosion. In the instant the lid is thrown off the reactor, oxygen rush. It combines with hydrogen and superheated
And ignites. There's the graphite on the roof. And our sky beam from the ionized air.
Knew the shutdown button could act as a detonator because it was kept from them.
Comrade Legasov, you're contradicting your own testimony in Vienna.
My testimony in Vienna was a lie.
The cost of a lie. What is the cost?
Must warn you, you're treading on dangerous ground.
I've already trod on dangerous ground. We're on dangerous ground right now because of our secrets and our lies.
How does he survive to 88 though? After doing this. Oh God. Why did we focus back to that?
No one's getting shot, Legasov. The whole world saw you in Vienna. It would be embarrassing to kill you now. Your testimony today will not be accepted by the state.
Wow, yeah, see?
You keep your title and your office, but no duties, no authority, no friends. No one will talk to you.
Wow, they tried to erase him.
You will not communicate with anyone about Chernobyl ever again. You will remain so immaterial to the world around you that when you finally do die, it will be exceedingly hard to know that you ever lived at all.
Dude, f you.
If I refuse?
Why worry about something that isn't going to happen?
Why worry about something that isn't going to happen?
That is poetic.
That on our money.
Wow, that was a... We should put that on our money. That is writing right there, man. That whole scene. I love this overarching theme of what is, I mean, it's the what we open with, like the whole idea of what is the cost of a lie. It just keeps coming back. The lies are what got us here. Every lie stacked upon itself with its own weight, its own consequences, its own toll.
At last is the gift of Chernobyl. Where I once would fear the cost of truth, now I only ask, what is the cost of lies?
Oh, took his own life at the age of 51, exactly 2 years after the explosion at Chernobyl. Videotapes of those memories were circulated among the Soviet scientific community. His suicide made it impossible for them to be ignored. In the aftermath of his death, Soviet officials finally acknowledged the design flaws of the RBMK nuclear reactor. The reactors were retrofitted to prevent an accident like Chernobyl from happening again. Legasov was aided by dozens of scientists who worked tirelessly alongside him at Chernobyl. Some spoke out against the official account of events and were subject to denunciation, arrest, and imprisonment. The character of Vichnaya Pamyat was created to represent them all Oh, to honor their dedication to truth and humanity. Boris Shcherbina died August 22nd, 1990, 4 years, 4 months after he was sent to Chernobyl. For the roles in the Chernobyl disaster, Victor Pamyat and Anatoly Dyatlov, Nikolai Fomin were sentenced to 10 years hard labor. Wow, that's it. After his release, Nikolai Fomin returned to work. Really? At a nuclear power plant in Kalinin, Russia. Anatoly Dyatlov died from radiation-related illness in 1995. He was 64. Valery Khomyuk's body was never recovered. He is permanently entombed under Reactor 4. Firefighters cloned the still remains of the basement of the Pripyat hospital. It is dangerously radioactive to this day. Wow, oh my god. Following the death of her husband and daughter, Lyudmila Ignatenko suffered multiple strokes. Doctors told her she would never be able to bear a child. They were wrong. She lives with her son in Kiev. Of the people who watched from the railway bridge, it has been reported that none survived. It is known as the Bridge of Death. 400 miners worked around the clock for 1 month to prevent a total nuclear meltdown. It is estimated that at least 100 of them died before the age of 40. It has been widely reported that the 3 divers who trained the bubbler tanks died as a result of their heroic actions. In fact, all 3 survived after hospitalization. 2 are still alive today. Wow. Over 600,000 people were conscripted to serve in the exclusion zone. Despite widespread accounts of sickness and death as a result of radiation, the Soviet government kept no official records of their fate. You. The contaminated region of the Ukraine and Belarus is known as the exclusion zone, ultimately encompassing 2,600 square kilometers. Approximately 300,000 people were displaced from their homes. They were told this was temporary. It is still forbidden to return. Mikhail Gorbachev presided over the Soviet Union until its dissolution in 1991. In 2006, he wrote, "The nuclear meltdown at Chernobyl was perhaps the true cause of the collapse of the Soviet Union." In 2017, work is completed on the new safe confinement at Chernobyl at a cost of nearly $2 billion. Oh, they finally got the covering over it. It was designed to last 100 years. Following the explosion, there was a dramatic spike in cancer rates across the Ukraine and Belarus. The highest increase was among children. We will never know the actual human cost of Chernobyl. Most estimates range from 4,000 to 93,000 deaths. The official Soviet death toll, unchanged since 1987, is 31. In memory to all who suffered and sacrificed. For a little bit, I was like, okay, I'm getting through this kind of fine. But once we hit the trial where, Khomyuk started to talk about, the age of the inexperience of the workers that were being forced to do this thing that they had no experience or knowledge of, and then the layout of everybody, where they were, what was happening, what they knew, what they didn't know in any given situation, and then how that transitioned into Legasov's explanation of how it detonated, and then just his transition into the truth was just beautifully done, beautifully executed, and how the truth eventually came to light. Maybe not everything. I'm sure there's still plenty that we don't know, that we can't confirm, or maybe that's even known that is just not public because of this cloak of silence, of secrecy. There's so much there's still so much to this story that is just an estimation and a guess. because of this restriction. I really appreciated that whole section at the end, though, telling us what really happened to these people that were represented here. You know, how by all stretch and imagination, like, some people, despite the doom that was perceived for them, some survived it. Like, of the 3 people that went down into the reactor to flush those containers, 2 of them are still alive today. I think that's a miracle in and of itself. What's her name? Ludmila Ignatenko, she's still around. She's living with her son. You know, they told her she would never be able to give birth again after everything, but she did. You know, it's still devastating, but it could have just been way worse. So much worse. And it honestly, it makes me, at least fills me with some contentment that some of these people weren't doomed in the way that it was kind of presented or perceived or believed that they would be. And that at the end, their actions, Boris, Legasov, and then everybody else in this community that was trying their best to make the best out of a horrific situation, just to see that the truth won at the end. At least it was exposed that there's a blanket of lies covering this whole event, and that it forced this accountability to be taken. I don't know, man. It's just really beautiful and haunting. I love this as a cautionary tale, and I love this, again, I talked about this in the reaction, the theme of the cost of lies, the cost of, you know, they lost so much because they refused to be honest and tell the truth. You know, the suppression of the documents detailing this safety fault in the reactor to begin with led to the people running the reactor and the safety test to not be equipped with the knowledge necessary to... Now, yes, they put it in a stupidly impossible position where under normal conditions, it wouldn't have mattered. Even if they had followed the guidelines to a T, wouldn't have mattered. It should have been fine. But because there was some games being played in the background, there was egos at play, there was just a rush to get this done and completed, you know, those guidelines were pushed. But, I mean, all with the idea, though, that there was a safety net at the end of the day, but that safety net, because of the suppression, because of the lie, they hit their own detonator. You know, to give the man the benefit of the doubt, as rough, crude, and arrogant as this man was, Dyatlov, I would hope if he knew that button was going to be their demise, if he knew about that fault, I would hope that he would not have done what he did with the reactor, and they would have done the responsible thing and canceled the test. Then the lies that they told Germany, the equipment that was coming, and there's going to be plenty that I probably skip over. The lies to the public that they'd be able to go back to their homes. They never would ever again. You know, they were told, just to get them to wait, don't worry, this is temporarily, you'll be able to come back to your homes. You can be able to come back to your stuff. Lies. All that's lost. Then you go on to the severity of this incident. Nobody's taken it as the tragedy it is. It takes a long time for anybody to take it seriously. And because of the suppression of knowledge, you have instances where she went into this hospital and again, because of the suppression, because of what's going on, even Khomyuk, who went in there, who again was a really nice way to represent so many people and truncate it for the show, because God, that would be next to impossible to write scenes endlessly with him just surrounded by all kinds of people. I do wish that maybe if they knew who was involved, maybe they could do like a tribute. Maybe there is in the credits or something like that further beyond that. But to like acknowledge that. I mean, they did like in the little epilogue there, but like in a way that I would say like gives credit to each and every one if they could do something like that. But maybe that was impossible. Maybe who was involved, they don't really know. Again, so much of this has been suppressed, and maybe some of it came out later. I have no idea, man. But the fact that, you know, she was coming in here and this suppression of information, you know, like I talked about previously, had Mrs. Keiko known what was even happening, maybe she could have saved her child. And because she would have understood what was happening, but nobody knew what was going on. Again, by her volition, by her understanding, her husband just suffered fire burns. That's all she knew at the time, until it was too late. You know, again, this lie. And then the lies they told the miners to get them in there until obviously they learned the truth. The lies they told Germany because they didn't want to seem as weak as they were. They sent that robot that just died instantly. Again, lies at Vienna. Like every one of their lies presented a brand new cost, a new sacrifice for somebody at the end of the day. And, you know, people's morality has been sacrificed. People's lives has been sacrificed. People's health has been sacrificed. It's insane. But this series was beautifully written, poetically written, and the direction, you know, Craig Mazin, I know he didn't direct any of these episodes, but writing, showrunning this, I'm curious to see his directing style, but like the tone and vibe of it. Johan Renck, who did I may have pronounced his name wrong, who did direct these, it was stellar. The way every shot is this beautiful poetic composition that is drawn out, paced to highlight every complex emotion that is being experienced through this. I think one of the good shots of representative of that is just showing physically with the camera Legasov's headspace when he took the stand, when it was kind of like you're rocking on a boat, but he was still dead center. Like you never lost him in the center, but the background was fading in around him, like because he was teetering. He's, which way am I going to go? As we left off in the last episode, he was like, we had Boris on his shoulder, her on his shoulder, and then where's he going to land with it? And he, in the end, landed with the truth, with her in the end, with the scientists, with truth. That was a beautiful way to do that. And then just the ways that they melded these lingering long takes with these whimsical shots, like the Bridge of Death. My God, learning more about what happened and some of the scenes that we did see and getting further context about it, like how everybody that God, and it goes back to what I was saying too when we were at that scene, and it just makes all these scenes hit so much more. It was hard reading that for you guys. Like, you know, they didn't know any better. They didn't know what's going on. To be fair, being as close as they were, I don't know if the response time, no matter what, aside from the reactor safety protocols, if like they had, the lie that got them killed is the fact that the reactor was dangerous and that this event happened, that this test failed, that this execution went in the way it did. The response time had nothing to do with that. I think no matter what, the people that were there, it was already too late. And that's the sad thing about it. And the fact that, you know, they were just like, oh, look at the pretty lights, because they thought it was just a fire. You know, the severity of the situation was not understood. And, you know, they're there with their kids. They're there with their families. They're there with their baby. And then you have these kids playing in the snow, which is the fallout from the wreckage, from the smoke, from the ash of the burning building, leaking this radioactive material everywhere. It's just so heartbreaking. And then the people that are left behind that like the many that we probably don't even know about that are entombed forever somewhere in the wreckage of this. Bodies probably evaporated, eroded into dust by now. It's just chilling. And then, we never followed back up on the crew from episode 4 who were going out and, tending to the leftovers, with the wildlife, with the tilling of the land, with the chopping of the trees and stuff like that. I know we probably didn't need to, but like that was also just really just showed you just the dirty, hard, monotonous, mundane work and horrific work that had to be done just to like remedy or mitigate the fallout of this disaster. This was a really good trial scene too, the way it was parsed out and presented in a way that really made it easy to understand the situation at hand and the events and how they occurred. Again, the performances across the board in this were phenomenal. The music, the score was brilliant. Again, I've talked about it at length. There's a lot of things that I've talked about a lot of what I'm already saying, like in other episodes, but we're at the end here, and I think they just closed the book on it, like thematically bookended the series from where we started off, and it was, again, like I said, it was inspiring in a lot of ways. It was horrifying in others. It's eye-opening. This is a story that I do think needs to be told. I do, and it's more than relevant today, to this day. This type of approach, these lies, the cover-ups, the lack of respect for the power that we have and wield, what we can do to the land, all this stuff, And I did see some comments like, understandably to this point, like nuclear reactors, are the safest type of energy, it's high risk, high reward. The thing is, if something does go bad, it is catastrophically bad. But the likelihood of it is so much worse or so much less than your standard long-term operation of your standard power plants, which I do get. But again, it's for me where I'm coming from at every step of the way. I think is that high risk, high reward, that hubris in a way that, again, the Titanic won't sink. Something, sometime, somewhere, eventually, something might go wrong. Like, it's all, just because the chance is small doesn't mean that the chance no longer exists. I don't think anything is just flat out impossible. And there's still situations that, like the earthquake in Japan, though that was handled quickly, and maybe not to the extent, definitely not to the extent of Chernobyl, but, things can still go wrong. But we have a lot better safety measures today. So it is, even though it is more impossible, maybe a more better word is, even though it's more improbable, it can still happen. And that's the thing that's terrifying to me personally. And then on top of that, if you want to talk military power, we have how many countries, major powers, just stocking up just nukes at any time. It just, who knows what could happen. It's just insane to me, the power that we've kind of flaunted in the last couple of years. But which is interesting too, because maybe watching this was a little timely, because we also have Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer coming out soon, which looks really interesting. Seems to be like a philosophical look into that power itself. And I'm really curious to see how that film turns out. I imagine, like many films like this these days, it's probably going to flop, but I can't wait to see it. Star-studded cast, but we're not talking about that. This one was stacked as well, this show, and everybody killed it. Again, it was really nice seeing Jared Harris not in a trashy horror movie for the first time in a long time, let alone Morbius. Stellan's always fantastic. Emily Watson, I haven't seen her in a long time, but she was fantastic in this as well. Everybody was, man. Everybody. Surprise little peep-ins from faces I recognize here and there. And this series was one of the best shows I've watched in a really, really long time. I mean, considering it's a limited series and stuff like that. I don't watch too many of those, to be honest. Now that I can think about it, but this was a interesting ride, and I'm grateful to have shared it with you guys. And I'm, again, endlessly grateful for you all who have shared your stories and your experiences. And every step of the way, I'm not going to act like I know everything. I'm not going to act like I know more than you guys, more than the show or anything like that. And I love being educated about this thing. So if you guys want to share more of your stories, no pressure, because I know it's not easy to talk about this subject. But I will listen, and I will be reading every comment on these videos. That's for sure. And I'll respond, but I will definitely be reading every comment on these. And just thank you guys. Thank you a lot for being coming through this with me. I wasn't sure how this was going to do, and the videos themselves have been doing pretty decent by comparison for, something that's just kind of out of the wall. It's not SEO pushing or anything like that. It's not tied to anything relevant going on. I tried to link this to like The Last of Us for a little bit of a tie-in to give us a boost and a motivation for me to finally watch this show, give me a reason to watch this show. And I'm definitely thankful for all that, but I didn't expect it to get the engagement that it's gotten. And I really do. I'm glad that it did, because I want more people to be made aware of this in a way. So I think it works out in the end. But man, hope you guys enjoyed the ride watching me suffer through this. But it was vastly educational, and this is something I'm very glad that I did watch. Especially with the stuff that I've learned outside of this from you guys, and just from some reading that I've done on my own time between episodes. It's been eye-opening, man. It really has. But hope you enjoyed the reaction. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts, your stories, your opinions on this whole thing, whether it be the themes, the events themselves, whatever, maybe interpretations, the artwork itself, the direction, some of the deeper meanings layered within there, whatever. And stick around. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really, really appreciate that. But that's it for this video, guys. If you want to see the full-length reaction, you can check it out over on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, gets you access as well. And speaking of before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Philly Vane, Yori, Corey Scott, Margaret Grace, Melita, Robert Anguiano, Raven McCann, Jeffrey Hale, M. Sephiroth, Jake Cantrell, and Amy Becca. Thank you guys so much for continued support. But that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.